Hello friends, welcome to another exciting episode in our design series using CorelDraw. In this video, I'll be showing you how you can design this sports poster in CorelDraw. A few steps. Before we proceed, if you've not subscribed to my channel, please kindly hit the subscribe button and don't forget to turn on the post notifications so you don't miss any of the videos that I'll be dropping anytime from now. To my existing subscribers, I want to say a very big thank you for supporting me all through this time, and without having to waste much of your time, let's get started. Okay, so like you all know, like you've done in the past, the first thing I like to do is I'll go over to file, click on file, and I'll click on new. The first thing I'll be doing here is I'll just give it the name of my design, which is a sports poster, right? Primary code I'll set to RGB, and the size for this, I'll be using it for first and foremost, let me change this back from feet to inches, and while it's in inches, I'll set it to 4 by 5, right? Good. So my resolution stays at 300, and I'm going to click OK, right? So I'll just go straight into business and straight to the point. I'll double click here, click on this rectangle, and F4 fit to page, right? So with this, I would start my design. So the first thing I did was I'll give this the background color that I used. So I'm just going to double click on this part here, right? I'm going to select the first one, and I'm just going to put my color code for that I used here. So the color code I used is FF then 0000. That's FF then 4 zeros. I'm going to click OK. So this is the first red that I used, right? So I'm just going to go over to remove the outline, right click here to remove the outline like this, right? Fit to screen back. The next thing I'm going to do is, and like always, like before in the past videos, the resource file for this particular video is in the description of this video. So just check the description of the video and click on the link that takes you to where you download the file from. So let's continue. So what I'll do is I'll go over to where I have the resource file. So I'm going over to where I have it. I'm going to bring this first image. This is what I'm working on. So I'm just going to drag, and I'm going to drag and drop inside here like this. While it's inside here like this, I'm just going to do 3 things. I'm just going to make it bigger first, so it covers right. I'm just going to make it big just like this, so it covers the right amount, so it covers a good area of this design. Next thing I want to do is I want to blend this image with the background. So what I want to do is I'll go over to my transparency tool, and I'm going to hold down shift, and I'm going to drag from white to black just on top of it like this. So if you notice, I didn't do something like this, right? What I did was I made sure that the black ended where I had this sharp edge, right? You understand? Good. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to increase this white till it gets to somewhere here, and that's all, right? So I'm just going to move this aside here so I'm seeing my page clearly. So with this one selected, with this image that we just applied the transparency to, what I'm going to do is click on transparency again, and I'm just going to change the blend mode to what? Multiply. So I'm going to set it to multiply. With multiply selected, I'm just going to have it like this, and I'm going to right click on it and click on power clip inside. When this arrow pops out, I'm just going to click inside of it like this, right? So as you can see now, I've positioned it inside of this rectangle, but it's not staying it's not sitting well, right? So what I need to do is I need to adjust well, right? Good. So with that, I'm just going to double click, right? So double click on the rectangle, activate the power clip, and I'm just going to make my adjustment. I'm just going to move it in place to the position where I feel it's going to be nice, at just somewhere around here. And when I'm done, I'm just going to use this finish button and click finish, right? Guys, if at this point you've not downloaded this, I'm using the CorelDraw 2021, and very soon I'm going to be uploading a different version of CorelDraw. So if you've not downloaded the CorelDraw at all, use the link in the description of this video to get it from the group, and you can install it. It's very easy to install, right? So let's go on. So this is the first thing that I'm going to do. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here till I have my rectangle, and I'm going to click on the rectangle, and I'm going to drag like this around this position, and I'm going to fill it with the color that I used, right? So for this rectangle, I'm going to select my pick tool and double click on this pen bucket here where I have none. Click on the first one, and I'm just going to use the color that I use for this design. So the color code is 3C 0105, right? 07 3C0107, and I click OK. So you can see now that it's quite different. You can also come here and also click on it and select color, but I'm just trying to, when you hold this down, you see other colors also pop up inside, so you can change the color here, but then I want to use the exact color that I used for my own poster, so you don't end up with a different thing compared to what I created, right? So after this, you can recreate yours and do yours in the way that you want it to be, right? So having done this, I'll just go ahead and also remove the outline from this image, right? Good. Fit to page. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my next element, which is this image right here, right? So I'm just going to drag and drop inside like I've always done. I feel I'm a big fan of dragging and dropping, right? So I'm just going to make this smaller, hold down shift and reduce from the edges like this. And with this image selected now, right now, what I want to use in this image is just this area, this part. I'm not going to use where this image is, right? So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go over to my shape tool. I'm going to highlight these 2 points, right? This point and this point. I'm going to hold down my shift key. I'm just going to shift it like this inside like this. I'll do that again. I'm going to highlight these 2 points. Remember, I'm using my shape tool, right? I'm going to start dragging. While I'm dragging, I'll now hold my shift key, right? Don't hold the shift key before you start dragging. So I'm just going to, what I'm doing is I'm just concealing these areas of the design, right? So with this is what I'm going to use. I think I'm okay with this. So I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. I'll be putting it inside of this rectangle, but I'm going to make this rectangle bigger. I'm just going to extend it from the top and extend it from the side here, just like this. But I'm not going to cover this part of his head here, right? So with this selected, I'm just going to do a few things to it. I'm going to go over to transparency, and I'm going to change the blend mode to what? Yes, overlay. You guessed right. So I'm going to change to overlay, and I'm going to power clip it inside here. So with this selected, I'm going to right click and click on power clip, and I'm going to select this rectangle itself, right? Good. So I'm going to double click because I need to adjust it, right? So I'm just going to adjust it inside and shift outside just like this, right? So I'm just going to good. So I'm just going to position it inside here just like this and sitting perfectly. I'm just going to click on finish, right? So that's the second thing that I did. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in few images, few of the images that I used. But before then, I'm just going to go over to I'm just setting the foundational elements of this my design, right? So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to bring in the images, right? And some persons ask me on Instagram where I download these images from. Most times my PNG images, I get them from PNG Egg. So what you just do, go over to your browser and just search for PNG Egg. As you can see now, PNG Egg. This is the website, it's pngegg.com, right? So you can just search for probably a stadium or a football, whatever you're looking for. It just brings everything out. For example, now I want to look for the logo of Bayern. So I'll just search for Bayern Munich, and as you can see, this is the logo of Bayern Munich. Of course, they have a couple of old image. That is not to say you don't have recent images of image, right? So you can go ahead and look for anything that doesn't have background and download from this website, guys. So it's very, very easy like that. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to bring in the images like I said. So what I'll do is I'm going to bring in the first one, which is this one. I'm going to drag and drop inside of my CorelDraw, right? So with this, I want to get rid of these extra spaces that I have here. Most times they can be very, very annoying. So I'm just going to go over to my shape tool. I'm just going to highlight these two parts. Drag before you hold down shift. So you are doing things the right way. Highlight. Start dragging before you hold down the shift, just like this. So with this done, I'm just going to make this smaller. Right, I'm going to make this smaller while I bring it inside, and I'm just going to make sure that so I'm just going to position it somewhere around this area, but I have to deal with these sharp edges. As usual, I'll go over to my transparency, hold down my shift key, and I'm just going to drag from white to black and end it on top of this sharp edge like this. Right, good. So that's how I get rid of the sharp edges. So I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller, not too small, and I'm going to move it upwards, make it smaller. I think somewhere around here is good, so good to go. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the next image. So I'm just going to bring in my images. I'm trying my best not to make this video very lengthy, so I'm just going to drag and drop. So I'm just going to make this smaller again. This image, I'm going to do the same thing I did with this. I'm going to get rid of these areas here. So select, while selecting it, and I'm just going to highlight this two and shift it in like this, and shift it in like this, right? So with this done, I'm going to bring it inside very close to it like this, and I'm going to make this slightly smaller like this, and I'm going to position it here. And again with this one, what I want to do with it is I want to get rid of the edges here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my transparency, select it, and hold down shift, and I'm just going to get rid of it like this, right? So having done this, I'm going to go over to where I have my next image. But before I bring in my next image, what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of text inside. So I just don't go bringing in images, and I don't have text. But first thing, I noticed that this head that I have here is not quite visible. I want it to be visible, like if not the entire part of this head region, but a little bit of the regions that are going to make sense, right? So I'm just going to double click on this rectangle here, and I'm just going to drag it all the way to this point, and I'm going to increase it like this, just so this area is visible, right? When I'm done, I'm going to click finish. Good. Okay, so this is exactly what I want to create, right? So with this done, I'm just going to go over to my text tool. I'm just going to type so I'm just going to type Harry, and I'm just going to change this to Galano Grotesque, and I'm going to use I think I'm going to settle for the extra bold, this one. I'm going to drag it here. I'm going to change the color to white like this, right? So having done that, I'm just going to Ctrl C and Ctrl V, make a duplicate copy of this Harry, and I'm going to type Kane, right? But for this Kane, I'm going to use a different font, right? The font I use is also in the resource file. This is the font that I use, Magna Black Condensed, right? So I'm just going to change it to Magna Black Condensed like this way, and with this done, I'm just going to make this bigger like this, as you can see, guys, right? So with this done, I'm going to make a duplicate copy of this Kane, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, but I'm just going to move this aside. I'm going to make use of it shortly, right? So with this Harry and Kane, I'm selecting the two of them. I'm going to group them, but before I group them, I'm not going to group them yet. Select the two of them, hold down shift. I'm just going to move them upward like this, just so it's inside here. I'm just going to extend this rectangle so it gets to this point, right? Good. And with this done, I'm going to make a duplicate copy of the Harry, Ctrl C and Ctrl V, and I'm just going to bring it down here. I'm going to make it smaller, and I'm just going to use it to type FC Bayern Munich, right? And I'm just going to move this upward a little bit, and with this done, I'm going to zoom out so that I can see what I'm doing in real time. I might want to make this image of this hurricane smaller, so I'm just going to drag inside from the edge like this and make it a little bit smaller. I think with this I'm going to move it upward a little bit, just like this, not too much. I think this way is perfect, right? So with this done, I want to bring in the other image, so I'll go to my resource file, and I'm just going to drag and drop inside like this. So with this done, I'm just going to make this smaller. I'm going to make this smaller and make this smaller. I'm still going to reduce the size, not too small. I'm just going to reduce it just one notch, something like this is okay and good. So I want to get rid of these extra edges. Select my shape tool, select these regions, drag in like this, and I'm also going to select this region here like this, and I'm going to drag inside just like this, right? So with this done, last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mirror it. So with this, I'm just going to, with the image selected, I'm just going to come over to where I have my mirror here, and I'm going to mirror it like this, right? I'm still going to make it smaller. It seems to be too big, and I'm just going to leave it somewhere around this part here, right? I want to make this hurricane and the whole text that I have here, I'm going to make it smaller, so I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to make it smaller like this, just so the entire part of the body is, if not directly on top of the image itself, or somewhere around here is cool. I might want to make this bigger, right? Good. But with this now, if you notice, the image seems to be a little bit brighter than what we have here. So I'm going to go to Effects, I'm going to go to Adjust, Image Adjustment Lab, right? So I'm going to click on Reset everything I have here, and I'm just going to reduce the brightness, right? So you can see what reducing the brightness is doing to the image, right? But I'm not going to go too much overboard. -22 is good. I'm going to increase the contrast somewhat like this, and so my brightness -22, my contrast stays at 14. I'm going to press OK, right? As you can see now, I think I have a close resemblance to what I have here going on here, right? Good. So the next thing I want to do is I'm just going to create a shadow for this boot that I have here. So how do I do that? I'm just going to come over to where I have my freehand tool, click and hold so they can see the rest tools, and I'm going to select the B-spline tool, right? So with the B-spline tool, I'm just going to select and make my selections like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, and I'm just going to make a selection around the boots like this, something that resembles the shape of the boots. So with this selected, I'm just going to go over to my eyedropper tool, select the eyedropper tool, and select a dark color from this area, and I'm going to apply it to this shape here. So before I do anything else, I like to remove the outline. So remove the outline like this, and the next thing I want to do is I would want to make sure I apply transparency to it. So I click on transparency. I'm just going to fade from white to black like this, right? So with this done, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Effects, go over to Blur, and go over to Gaussian Blur, right? I'm not going to make it too much, too obvious. I'm just going to leave it somewhere around here. somewhere around here is good, and press OK. But I don't want this shadow to be on top of the boot, so I'm just going to select the image and press shift page up, right? So as you can see now, the image is on top, so I'll just get rid of these areas here like this, and I'm just going to select the shadow and make it a little bit bigger like this. I want to make it smaller. Click on it and rotate it like this, and reduce it a bit. I think somewhere around here is nice and good. So guys, the next thing I want to do is I'm just going to bring in the image of the football. So I'm going to click on the image here, click on the ball, and I'm going to just drag, and I'm just going to drop inside like this, right? So with this, I'm just going to make it smaller, and I'm going to make it smaller and hold down shift while you're dragging from this point here like this to make it smaller, and I'm just going to put it directly at this point here. And now the next thing I want to do is I want to make this football more realistic, like it's in motion, right? So what I will do is, with this one selected now, I'm just going to make a duplicate copy of this football. So I'm going to press Ctrl C and Ctrl V, so I have 2 copies of this football right here, but I'm going to leave this one here. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go over to, with this one selected, the one on top, I'm going to go over to Effects, and I'm going to go over to Blur. Under Blur, I'm going to select what? Motion Blur, right? So I'm going to move this upward so I can see the football itself. So I'm just going to reduce the distance so the effect is not too much, as you can see. But we have one problem here now. The problem we have is affecting the whole football as we're seeing here right now, right? So what we're going to do is, the direction I use is 221, so you can just do it manually and set it to 221, and make sure this is checked and preview is turned on so you can see what you're doing in real time. So having done this, I'm just going to go on and just press OK like this, right? Okay. So having done this, I'm just going to go over with this one still selected. You know I have the real one under it. So I'm just going to go over to transparency, and I'm just going to fade from white to what? To black like this. So the blur effects only affects this point here. It doesn't affect this point here. Can you see what we've done with that effect, right? Good, nice. So the next thing I want to do is I want to apply the lighting effect that I used. So as usual, I've done in the past, I'm just going to go over to my ellipse tool, select it, hold down Control while you draw a perfect circle like this, and I'm just going to select this red color here, remove the outline, just right click here to remove the outline. With that done, what I want to do is I'll go over to transparency, click on it, and I'm just going to select screen. Then I'm going to select this first one, fountain transparency, and I'm going to select this one, elliptical fountain transparency, right? So with this selected, I'm going to hold down shift while I make the shape somewhat like this. So with this done, I'm just going to move this in place. I'm going to apply the light effects here. I'm going to make it bigger, so I'll just increase here. But just so I don't go and start creating new ellipse, and I'll just duplicate this, Ctrl C and Ctrl V, and I'm going to move this. I'm going to bring this somewhere here, right? I'm going to turn it like this, right? I'm going to duplicate this again and bring this somewhere here. I'm going to turn this like this and bring this downwards like this. And the last one, I'm going to select this one here, Ctrl C and Ctrl V, and I'm going to position it here while I resize it like this, hold down my shift key and position it this way, right? So I'm just going to bring this one here and position it well like this. So having done this, I'm going to go and bring in the logo of Bayern. So I'm just going to drag and drop inside here like this, right? So it's too big, hold down shift while you reduce from the edge. Guys, don't reduce the size of anything like this. Always make sure you're reducing from the edge, right? So So what I'll do is I'm just going to bring this closer, and I'm going to bring it closer, and I think I'm going to leave it somewhere here. So guys, the last thing I'm going to do for this design is I'm just going to be creating a little bit inside of this image that I have here, right? So how am I going to do that like I've done in the past? I'm just going to cut this time, Ctrl X to cut, double click on the rectangle, make sure you're clicking on the safe place, right? So what I just did is I went to the edge of the rectangle and I double clicked on it like this. So I'm just going to paste the cane here, and with this what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate it. So with the cane selected, press again, so you see the transform controls, which is the rotate and the skew, but I'm going to be using the rotate. So on the rotate here, I'm just going to drag like this, and I'm going to position it this way here. So with this done, I'm just going to click on mirror, and I'm going to make this cane big like this, and I'm going to bring this outside here a bit. I'm going to make it big, so the whole part of this edge covers this whole place like this, right? Good. So with this done, I'm just going to bring in the last element, which is this nice looking swirl or swirly kind of background. It's an abstract background, by the way, right? So I'm just going to bring it inside here like this. So with this inside, I'm going to power clip it inside of this cane. So how do we do that? Like we've done in the past, click on the image itself, right click on it and click on power clip inside, then select this text like this, right? As you can see, I've done that. Now I'm just going to make sure that, okay, I think I want to mirror this back, so I'm just going to mirror it back. So this area, this part is the only one showing. Let me flip this around, and let's say I have it here. I'm going to make it bigger and just make sure I'm seeing a part of his eyes here like this. Let's see what we have with this, and I'm just going to click out and click finish. Okay guys, so I think I'm okay with this, and I'm good to go just the way it is. It's nice, and you can make some modifications to your own and position it the way you like. I'm just going to double click and move this image of the head to this part so I can see a little bit of the head, and I'm just going to click on finish, and that's all guys. Alright, so that brings me to the end of this design section. If you've not subscribed to my channel, this is the right time to click on the subscribe button and turn on the post notification if you have not subscribed. I'll see you in the next video.